Hey darlings, I'm back. So now I'm going to continue reading chapter 19, Ravi. Ravi. My day is getting better by the minute. First, Miss Beam had liked the non-Kadis. Then she was impressed when she noticed how far I had read about in Bud Not Buddy. Now it was time for gym class. I was junior school sports captain at Vida Mandar last year, and even though I was only in 4th grade, if American gym is anything like PE in India, then my troubles will soon be over. I looked down at my clean white shoes. Das Sir, my PE teacher at Vidya Mandar, would be pleased. Every day before class, he lined us up and first checked our shoes. Weird. They must be pure white, he insisted. Thanks to Emma and her polishing skills, mine were always as white as snow. Sir would sit in the shade of his favorite neem tree and tell us to start with some drills, stretching exercises, jumping jacks, and one round of running. I always finished first. Pramod a close second, and Ramaswamy, the poor sod, came dead last every time. He was slow, not only in reading, but at everything else as well, including running. Sir had no patience for him. Ramawamy, I'm so butchering this name, had such a big belly that when he tried to touch his toes, he would bend his knees, and Sir would give him a whack with a neem twig. Oh, we all laughed our heads off when he howled. After the drills before we played cricket, Sir would send Ramaswamy off with the girls to play throw ball or tinacoid or cow, something. The gym teacher at Albert Einstein Elementary School is called Coach Victorian. He has a funny nose and no mustache, but he dresses exactly like Mr. Das, white shirt and black tracksuit bottoms. I'm looking forward to impressing him and everyone else with my skills. Coach Victorian leads us out onto a large grass field behind the school. He has a canvas bag containing several metal bats and some large yellow balls. I've never played American baseball, but I imagine it's a lot like cricket. I feel a bit nervous, but how hard can it be? I expect we will begin with some drills and running, but instead Coach Victorian chooses Dylan and a girl named Jaslyn to be captains and tells them to pick their team. Do the girls play too? I ask the boy standing next to me. He's the one who rides my bus, whose name is Tim or Jim. Yep, he says. Playing against girls is going to be easy peasy. Jaslyn picks first. She chooses a girl called Amy. I wave at Dylan to get his attention, then point to myself. I was first batsman at Vidya Mandar, I called out. I want him to know I won't let him down if he picks me. He chooses a boy named Robert instead. I was sure he would pick me first, but I remind myself that Dylan doesn't know anything about my athletic abilities or that I was a champion cricketer. It's Jaslyn's turn to pick again. I'll tell you, she says. At first I think she's pointing at the girls standing in front of me, but instead she has picked me. I can't believe I'm going to play my first game of American baseball on a team made of girls. This is all Miss Frost's fault. If she hadn't made me go to the resource room yesterday, Dylan and I would have had lunch together. I would have told him about the Gold Cup I won last year for scoring 2 centuries in our 4 cricket game. He would have picked me first for his team today, and together we would have beaten the other team, Team Hollow. Jaslyn chooses a few other boys for her team as well, so at least I'm not alone. Dylan will be surprised when he sees how well I play. I predict he will regret not picking me first. It's time to warm up, so I grab one of the bats and give it a good hard swing. Baseball bats are quite different from cricket bats, and I want to get a better feel for it before the game starts. The next thing I know, Coach Victorian is screaming his head off at me. What have I done now? Ooh. Chapter 20. Joe. Coach Victorian reminds me of a penguin. He has a long nose like a beak, and when he walks, he waddles. Line up, ladies and germs, he tells us. Oh, germs, I like how he does that. I played Little League for one reason when I was 7, but I wasn't any good at it, even with my earplugs in. All that yelling was too much for me. Plus, I'm pretty uncoordinated. As soon as the coach figured out I couldn't hit or throw or catch a ball, I spent the rest of the season sitting on the bench eating sunflower seeds. I didn't mind. I like sunflower seeds. I don't like playing baseball, but I like to watch it on TV. My dad is a Phillies fan, but I'm not into the Boston Red Sox. They're epic. In gym class, instead of baseball, we play slow pitch softball. Dylan and Jaslyn Arnaudo are the best hitters, but Amy Yamaguchi has gotten mad skills too. Emily Mooney isn't bad either, which is surprising because she's white as a marshmallow and so skinny her arms look like toothpicks. Jasleen picks first. I want Amy, she says. Amy Yamaguchi runs over and starts hugging her. This is baseball girls, squawks Coach Victorian, not a slumber party. Ravi's pointing to himself, trying to get Dylan to pick him, but Jasleen picks Ravi instead. He is so shocked he looks like he's about to pass out. Jasleen probably chose him because she feels sorry for him. Girls do junk like that. Dylan and Jasleen go back and forth, picking teams until finally Henry, Fuderman, and I are the only ones left. Henry is as uncoordinated as I am. Plus, he plays the violin. So his mom wrote a note to Coach Victorian saying Henry's not allowed to climb a rope or catch a ball or anything else that might hurt his fingers. I'll take footsie, says Jasleen, pointing at Henry, so I end up in the last place on earth I want to be. Dylan's not too happy about it either. If we lose because of you, you're going to be sorry, Pod, he tells me. We started tossing the ball around and a little to warm up. And all of a sudden, Coach Victorian starts yelling at Ravi. No rec spaces, no ball, no expectations. Excuse me, says Ravi. I don't understand. You can't wear your glasses when you play ball, kid. It's a lawsuit waiting to happen. In India, I always wore my glasses when we played cricket, Ravi says. Well, in case you haven't noticed, this is New Jersey, kid. You need to go to the eye doctor and get yourself a pair of rec sport specs like those. He points at Henry, who's wearing a pair of prescription goggles instead of his regular glasses. Can you see without those things? Coach Victorian asks Ravi. Not very well, he says, pushing his glasses up with his thumb. Let me adjust. Take your pick, kid. Sit on the bench or play without your glasses, says Coach. Up to you. Ravi takes off his glasses and puts them in his pocket. I'll play, he says. Our team is up first. We do okay for a while, but then when the bases are loaded, I strike out and Dylan gets ticked off. Way to blow it, Pod, he says, grabbing his glove off the bench and stomping off to the pitcher's mound. Dylan Samreen does not like to lose. Amy leads off for the other team, and she gets a hit. Emily and Jasleen get hits too. So Ravi comes up with the bases loaded. He's squinting pretty hard. He steps up to the plate. I notice he's holding his bat funny, down low like a golf club. He swings and misses twice, but on the third pitch, he brings his bat up, catches the piece of the ball, and sends it foul. Good cut, shouts Coach Victorian. Jasleen and the rest of the team go nuts, jumping up and down and screaming for Ravi to do it again. Even from far away, I can tell Dylan is up to something. When he turns his head to the side, I see the gleam in his eyes. And slow pitch, the ball is supposed to come at the batter in a nice high arc, but Dylan winds up and pitches a fastball right at Ravi's head. Duck! I yell, but it's too late. Oh my gosh. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to make it that it hears through the microphone. I don't know. I'm having issues today, but the corner is good for me. Chapter 21, Ravi. Coach Victorian comes rushing over to help me. Get the first aid kit, he yells. Everyone crowds around. I check myself, but nothing is broken. There is no blood, just a painful spot on my shoulder where the ball struck me. A terrible thought suddenly occurs to me. My glasses. But when I reach into my pocket and pull them out, I'm relieved to see they are not broken either. What happened out there, Samreen? Asked Coach Victorian. You forget what game we're playing? Sorry, Coach Dylan says. The ball must have been wet or something. It just got away from me. I didn't mean to hit him, honest. It's nothing, I say, standing up and brushing myself off. Please, can I bat again? But Coach Victorian won't allow it. How about you take your friend here down to the nurse's office so you can look him over, he tells Dylan. We don't want to take any chances. As Dylan and I walk to the nurse's office, it seems I do most of the talking. I have so much I want to say. Can you believe Miss Beam thinks I need speech help? I laugh. Ridiculous. You saw my Vedic math. Does he think I'm like Ramaswamy? Who? Asked Dylan. He was a boy at my school in India who couldn't read. Does she think I'm like him or Bigfoot? All he did when we were in the resource room yesterday was talk about candy and look at sports magazines. Ha! Make sure to tell the nurse it was an accident, says Dylan. I didn't hit you on purpose. No worries, man, I tell him. Do you know Kapil Dev, the famous Indian cricketer? He came to Vidya Mandir as a chef guest at our sports day last year. My best friend Pramod and I had our pictures taken with them. When you come to my house, I'll show you. You can see all of my trophies too, and Amma will make dosas for us. Our garden is quite big. Maybe I can teach you how to play cricket and you can teach me how to hit a home run. Dylan smiles at me and winks. I can hardly wait, he says. When we arrive at the nurse's office, Dylan reminds me once more to explain that he didn't hit me with the ball on purpose. Then he leaves and goes back to class. The nurse gives... can you hear me? The nurse gives me an ice pack for my shoulder and tells me to lie down on the cot and rest. I close my eyes for a while, and when I open them again, there's a girl in a green uniform standing in the doorway holding my backpack and jacket. She's from my class, but I don't remember her name. Miss Beam told me to bring Robbie's stuff in case he has to go home early, she tells the nurse. I'm fine, I say, sitting up. I don't need to go home. The bell rings, and 5th graders start coming down the corridor towards the lunchroom. The girl in the green uniform puts my things on my chair and leaves. Please, I beg the nurse, can I go to lunch now? Nothing is going to prevent me from eating my lunch with Dylan Summerine. If you're sure you feel up to it, says the nurse, let me get you a fresh ice pack to take with you. It will help keep the swelling down. The nurse takes so long preparing the ice pack that by the time I get to the lunchroom, Dylan has already bought his lunch and is sitting at the table in the corner by the window shooting straw papers with his friends. I look at the menu board on the wall. Today they are serving something called chili. I see someone eating a bowl of soup filled with red beans and tomatoes. In India, we call this kind of soup rama. It's more of a North Indian dish, but Amma makes it sometimes anyway, adding plenty of cumin seeds and black peppers to make it spicy. Rama is served with rice, but American chili is served with some kind of yellow bread that looks like cake. I have my tiffin box with me, but I grab one of the plastic trays anyways and tuck it under my arm. I have a plan I'm certain will help me fit in. Bigfoot is sitting at the same table where I sat on my first day. I walk past him straight to Dylan's table. I recognize some of the other faces, Robert Princenthal and Keith Campbell, Tim/John, Tom Dinkins, and the red-headed boy called Jax. Excuse me, can you make some room for me, please? I asked Tom Dinkins, who is sitting next to Dylan. Tom Dinkins looks at Dylan. You heard the man. Move over, Dink, says Dylan. Then he laughs and snaps his head back to shake the hair out of his eyes. Bollywood style, I wonder if Amma would ever let me grow my hair like that. Tom Dinkins moves over and I sit down on the bench next to Dylan. I place the plastic tray in front of me, unbuckle the lid, open the top compartment of my tiffin box, and transfer the creamy white rennet onto one of the small square sections of my tray. I smile. Finally, I am where I belong. Let me see how long this one is. Oh, we'll read this real quick. Chapter 22, Joe. It was an accident, Dylan tells Miss Beam when he comes back from the dropping Robbie off at the nurse's office. Yeah, right. Selena Gerbus, who's wearing a dorky Girl Scout uniform as usual, volunteers to pack up Robbie's stuff for him and take it down to the nurse's office. She accidentally drops Robbie's pencil case as she's trying to put it in his backpack, and the last of his 3 mechanical pencils goes rolling under the desk. Dylan sees it, and before Selena can bend down and pick it up, the pencils disappear down the front of his pants. She hunts around for it, and all she comes up with is a balled up piece of paper. Crud. It's that stupid cartoon that Dylan drew. Why hadn't I thrown it in the wastebasket instead of dropping it on the floor? Before I can do anything about it, Selena tosses the crumpled up cartoon into Robbie's backpack and zips it closed. 2 seconds later, she's out the door and on her way down to the nurse's office. At 11:30, the lunch bell rings. Wednesday is chili day. Einstein's chili isn't nearly as good as my mother's, but the cornbread is decent, especially if you put a lot of butter on it. My mom is standing near the door in her red and white striped apron when I get to the cafeteria, but when she sees me, she looks the other way. I have to give her points for that. Ravi is nowhere in sight. He might still be in the nurse's office, or maybe he went home. I get my lunch and head for an empty table near the trash cans, but Dylan steps in front of me. It's a good thing Coach decided to call the game, he says. If we'd lost, you would have paid for it big time. I know, I say. You told me. He grabs a piece of cornbread off my tray and stuffs it in his mouth. His eyes are pinned on me like 2 thumbtacks on a bulletin board. What was it Miss Barnes had said? The world is full of Dylan Summerines. I close my eyes and take a deep breath, trying to remember the rest. Wake up, putty tat, Dylan shouts in my ear. I jump and Dylan laughs, shaking the hair out of his eyes. I wonder how much time he spends in front of the mirror each day. In 4th grade, our desk had been right next to the window, and I'd seen him checking out his reflection in the glass all the time. Once Miss Barnes and I caught him doing it at the same time, and we both had to try hard not to laugh. Thinking about the jump starts my memory, and the rest of Miss Barnes' advice comes flying back into my head. You have to find a way to keep him from getting to you, I whisper. What was that, Pun? Asked Dylan, grabbing another piece of cornbread off my tray. I look at Dylan and try to imagine that instead of a crocodile, he's a harmless little rodent like a mouse or a chipmunk. I never noticed it before, but his ears are actually kind of small and round and set high on the sides of his head. And with his cheeks stuffed full of cornbread, he does look like a chipmunk. All of a sudden, instead of feeling nervous, I start to laugh. Dylan's eyes aren't sparkling anymore. They're cold and dark, like 2 lumps of coal. You want to tell me what's so funny, Pud? He says. As he hitches up his saggy pants, I notice his boxers for the first time. Of all the things they could be decorated with today, polka dots or clover leaves, taxicabs or buffaloes, he's wearing boxers covered with peanuts. Peanuts! My grandma has a family of chipmunks who live under her porch, and she always puts a bowl of peanuts out for them. Dylan Sammarine, the crocodile-turned chipmunk, standing there in his peanut boxers with his cheeks full of cornbread, pushes me right over the edge, and I totally lose it. I haven't laughed this hard in a long time, and every time I think I'm done, I look at his little round ears and his peanut boxers. My stomach bunches up, and it starts all over again. I'm laughing so hard I'm crying now. Dylan's an expert at dishing it out, but he hasn't spent much time on the receiving end. He's clearly not enjoying this. Kids are crowding around laughing and shouting, and I don't even care that I don't have my earplugs in. This might be one of the all-time greatest moments of my life. I'm out of here, says Dylan. Miss Barnes was right. I found a way to keep Dylan from getting to me, and it actually worked. For one perfect second, I feel like I'm standing on top of the world, and then I hear the whistle blow. Break it up, my mom says, pushing her way through the crowd of kids. What's going on here? Joey, are you okay? When Dylan hears her voice, he turns around. His eyes are sparkling again. Poor Joey, he says. Here comes Mommy to save her little baby, or maybe she needs to change his poopy diaper. Dylan looks like his old self again. He grins at me, shakes the hair out of his eyes, and walks away. So much for being on top of the world. I should have known it wouldn't last. Once a zebra, always a zebra. I look at my mom and shake my head. She just doesn't get it. Don't be mad at me, Joey. I thought you were in trouble, she says. I'm your mother. What am I supposed to do? Just stand there and watch? No, I say. You're supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be here at all. I've lost my appetite. I can't even remember the last time that happened. My mom has to go break up a food fight on the other side of the cafeteria, so I put in my earplugs, carrying my tray over to the table by the trash can, and sit down by myself. A minute later, Ravi shows up carrying his jacket and his backpack. I guess he didn't go home after all. I don't expect him to want to sit with me, but I can't believe my eyes when he walks over to Dylan's table and sits down right beside him. Maybe that ball hit him harder than I thought, because I'm pretty sure he's lost his mind. Woofed. That was a good one. I really like how he handled the situation and laughing. Learn when anyone's kind of doing something to be really mean. If you just laugh it off or act like it doesn't matter to you, they usually stop whatever they're doing. So think about it. How are you feeling? But I will see you later. Love you guys. Bye.